Greetings. It's that time again, Black Facts time. We're here bringing you another installment of Black Facts at noon and 9. Are you ready? We hope you are for a very good evening. So hopefully you've had a good day to go along with the good evening, and that everything that we say you will be believing, because we're not over here trying to start doing any kind of deceiving. Absolutely. So there is no reason for you not to be believing. Well, here we are again. Let's go ahead and do the needful. First and foremost, if you're watching us on Facebook, give us a good old like. If you're watching us on YouTube, give us that thumbs up. And then go ahead, spread the word far and wide across the land, throughout the north, the east, the south, and the west. Let everybody know that Black Facts is still the best, putting out the best information we can bring you when we can bring it to you every day, twice a day, for the adults and then for the children. Doc Ock at noon and 9. So let's go ahead and move on into our proverbial words for today. And we're going to come out of this book right here, this little book here called The Philosophy and Opinions of Marcus Mosiah Garvey, edited by one of his wives, Amy Jacques Garvey. He had two wives, and it gets confusing sometimes because both of them had the first name Amy. Yeah, how about that? I don't know if he did that on purpose, or I don't know how that came about, but it's a fact. Okay, let's see what we got here. Philosophy and Opinions of Marcus Mosiah Garvey. All right, so here we go. Proverb for tonight, or from the words in the mind of Marcus Garvey, we have this proverbial wisdom. Chance has never yet satisfied the hope of a suffering people. Action, self-reliance, the vision of self, and the future have been the only means by which the oppressed have seen and realized the light of their own freedom. Action, self-reliance, the vision of self, and the future have been the only means by which the oppressed have seen and realized the light of their own freedom. I like that. I like that a lot. All right, so we'll put that back, and let's go ahead and read from our book on the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey, from the Coretta Scott King Black Americans of Achievement series. We're going to start on chapter 3, which starts off with a big picture of none other than Booker T. Washington, one of Garvey's, I wouldn't say a mentor exactly, because he never worked with him, but he certainly was inspired by him. So one of Garvey's inspirational leaders, or his, let's say his muse. Garvey's muse was Booker T. Washington. And interestingly enough, as I look at Booker T, I noticed something here in the background of the picture. You might notice it as well. You see right here in the background, you see him at his desk. It looks pretty orderly, nice and clean and neat, etc., etc. But then you look in the background, and what do you see? But the proverbial stack of books stacked up sideways. No room on shelves, or else he'd either run out of shelf space or didn't have enough shelves. I don't know why he didn't have somebody build him some shelves. He had all those people around there in the wood shop, but for some reason he just had them stacked up there. Interesting. We still see that amongst the scholarly among us. Name of this chapter: Doomed to Lead. When Garvey sailed from Kingstown in 1910, he intended to work for a short time, save some money, and then go back to Jamaica. Let's see what happens when we go, boom, right there. There we go. And then go back to Jamaica to continue the struggle for black political rights. He knew that his people would need strong leadership if they were to break their shackles of inequality and poverty. I don't know why it's doing that. Come on, stop doing that. His plans for a quick return to Jamaica changed, however, when he discovered the condition that blacks labored under in Latin American countries. What he saw there shocked him. In Costa Rica, Garvey took a job on a banana plantation owned by the United Fruit Company. This giant U.S. multinational firm controlled much of the fruit production in Latin America and was rapidly clearing land for new plantations. As a timekeeper, Garvey kept track of the hours worked by company employees, many of them black West Indians like himself. The workers battled daily to drain swamps while contending with snakes and other wild animals. They worked long hours for low wages, and their money often disappeared into the pockets of robbers or dishonest bankers. Distressed by the plantation workers' suffering, Garvey began a crusade to improve their working conditions. Many of the West Indians were citizens of islands controlled by Britain and were entitled to British protection. The British had close ties with the nations of Central America, and their consulates had a strong amount of influence with the local governments. Garvey therefore decided to bring the workers' plight to the attention of the British consulate in the nearby city of Puerto Limon. To Garvey's dismay, the council showed no interest in the matter and said the British government could do nothing to help the men. It was clear to Garvey that white officials like the council did not value the lives of black people. Garvey remained in Puerto Limon, working on the docks with other poorly paid black laborers. Again, he tried to organize the workers. He started a newspaper called La Nacionale. I have to work on that one. He went to Spanish on me real quick. Which agitated for workers' rights and encouraged blacks to demand fairer treatment. But he received little support. The mainly illiterate laborers were unable to read his articles in La Nacionale. Most were too busy trying to feed themselves to get involved in a political movement. After a short while in Puerto Limon, Garvey decided to see what he could accomplish elsewhere. Leaving Costa Rica, Garvey traveled to Nicaragua, Colombia, Venezuela, and other Latin American nations. He found West Indian migrant workers in all of these countries, men who had fled the poverty of their own islands, only to find nothing but back-breaking work abroad. In Panama, thousands of blacks were helping to build the nearly completed canal that the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers was constructing to link the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. Many workers caught malaria and other deadly tropical diseases in the steaming Panamanian jungles. Black workers did much of the heavy excavating work on the 50-mile length of the canal, but were poorly paid. Their white co-workers lived in separate camps and were treated much better. In the tobacco fields and copper mines of Ecuador, Garvey discovered more West Indian migrants working in wretched conditions. Again and again, he met with the islanders, heard their complaints, and tried to organize the men into workers' associations. None of the British consulates in the countries he visited would listen to his appeals for help. They always insisted that they could not risk upsetting their friendly relations with the local governments. After campaigning unsuccessfully for 2 years to improve the lot of the West Indian workers, Garvey grew discouraged. Wherever he went, he was harassed by government authorities who viewed him as a dangerous subversive. Finally, in 1912, worn out from a bout with malaria, he returned to Jamaica. Back home again, his health restored, Garvey renewed his efforts to help his scattered countrymen. In Kingston, he found many other people who were concerned about the welfare of relatives working overseas. Garvey organized a delegation to bring the migrant workers' problems to the attention of the governor of Jamaica, the head of the island's colonial administration. Again, Garvey received a cold welcome. The governor told the delegation that if conditions were so bad abroad, then the workers should return to Jamaica. Huh? Return to do what? Garvey asked. For the reason the men had left Jamaica was that they could not find work at home. The governor made no reply. Garvey was not defeated. Jamaica, he knew, was only a small part of the British Empire, whose sprawling domain included the modern-day countries Ireland, India, Pakistan, Kenya, Uganda, Barbados, and many other parts of Europe, Asia, Africa, and the West Indies. He believed that in London, where British colonial policy was decided, he might find people who could help the West Indians. Garvey did not have the money for a ticket to England, but his sister, who was working as a nanny in London, sent him the fare, and so in 1912, at the age of 23, Garvey sails for England. During his stay in London, Garvey learned much about the conditions experienced by blacks around the world. On the London docks, where he worked to support himself, Garvey spoke with black seamen from the West Indies, Africa, and the U.S., hearing the sailors describe the indignities blacks endured in other countries. Garvey concluded that no matter where they lived, the people of his race shared a common bond of suffering. Whether they were a minority class or the major racial group in their country made no difference. Blacks everywhere had to obey discriminatory laws and accept unfair working conditions. Although Garvey put in long days on the docks, he still found time to attend classes in law and philosophy at Birkbeck College, a school for working class people in London. Here he studied the ideas of important thinkers, from the ancient Greek philosophers Socrates and Plato to black scholars of his own time. Garvey also spent many hours in London's public libraries poring through books on the history and culture of his African ancestors. He read with pride about the Ghana, Mali, and Songhai kingdoms, which centuries earlier had ruled large parts of Central and Western Africa. Having been taught that Africa's inhabitants had always been poor, primitive tribes people, Garvey was delighted to learn that advanced civilizations had flourished on the continent long before the Europeans arrived in the 15th century. The Africans' magnificent art and music and highly developed political institutions and religious traditions had been virtually ignored by white society. Surprise, surprise. The heyday of the great African kingdoms had long since passed. However, in Garvey's time, Africa was dominated by European nations. During the 19th century, Great Britain, France, Germany, Belgium, Portugal, and Italy had competed against each other to slice up the continent into colonies. Representatives of the European powers met at the Berlin Conference of 1884 to 1885 to establish the boundaries of their colonial states. The only countries that remained in black control were Liberia, a West African nation founded by black immigrants from the United States, the ancient East African kingdom of Ethiopia that we talked about all last month. The European nations justified their occupation of Africa by claiming that they were bringing civilization and Christianity to godless and backward people, the heathen savages of the dark continent. And I leave off there. Keep in mind, this is a children's book that I'm reading from here. This is not the adult version. I'm just here giving out some basic information that all the youth them should know about their history, because old Marcus Garvey is one of the most important people that we have in our history from Africa or anywhere else on the planet Earth. But he's also one of the most overlooked, never spoken of. His name doesn't come up in the school books. His name doesn't come up in the school classes. His name doesn't come up anywhere in the historical classes that the children get in school. So who's going to talk about old Marcus Garvey? None other than I and I. We got to talk about old Marcus Garvey, because if we don't do it, nobody will. And that's why we're here doing what we do. So let me close out for the children, and then I'll get back to you adults. Right now, all you little children out there know what time it is. You know what you need to do. So let me just give you a reminder. It's time to take your little head and put it on your little pillow on your little bed. Close those yeah eyes and wait on that sun to rise. And when you feel those sunbeams beaming down on your eyes, you know that it's time for you to rise and shine. All you children of mine. Rise and shine. When the sun comes up, you should be up with it. Maybe even before the sun comes up. Start your day before the sun comes up. But you should be up by the time the sun comes up at the latest. That's like the last alarm clock ring. Hit that alarm clock and jump out of the bed and go ahead and do what you need to do. Enjoy your day. Meanwhile, for you adults, you already know all those things. But let me just say to the adults, we need each and every one of you out there listening right now to do a few things for us to show your support. Number one, give us a like. Number two, if you're looking on Facebook, give us a thumbs up. And number three, send those donations. You can send donations anywhere you like right now. You can do this. Our website is open 24 hours a day. www.blakfacts.org. You can also donate at either one of our at any of our Facebook pages or groups, or on our YouTube channel. Just go below any one of our live streams, and in the description area you'll see a link where you can make a donation, or it'll take you to the website. You can make the donation there. If you're looking on your mobile phone, then go to your notifications bar on the left-hand side. Go into the notifications, and then you'll see there where we have a link. Link up so you can make your donation there. 5, 10, 15, 20, eating one of those would be just like pure D honey for us. That's right, just like the nectar of the gods. And we do need it, because we are just like a lightning rod. We are bringing down some of that electric energy from the sky and putting it right black into the earth. We'll be black tomorrow at noon. Look for us then. This is Doc Ock at noon and 9, signing off as I give my nightly greetings to Brother Lee Clifford. And I saw Brother Solomon in there. What happened to Solomon? Where'd Solomon go? Solomon was there a minute ago. Oh, I can see somebody donate. Okay, it looks like Lee Clifford. All right, cool. First time I've seen that before. Okay, now what happened to Solomon? I don't know where Solomon went. There goes Solomon. All right, just want to give them the heads up, give them the greetings since they greeted me tonight. Any one of you can do the same. And we always appreciate it. Knowing that you're out there gives us the energy we need to continue on, because this is a hard slog and it's a long road. We got a few more years before we can even feel like we have touched on some of the high points of Black history. Because as Dr. Crosby used to always say, it's about Black history not for a month, but for a lifetime. Peace out, y'all, with justice. Because anything less disgusts us. You know we need that peace, but we got to have that justice too.